I'm the best shooter in the country.
Says the currently high-flying Zack Edey as part of a hilarious joke after making his first three-pointer ever against the Indiana Hoosiers.
Edey at three. Who says I can't hit three?
As per ESPN, the reigning National Player of the Year had 26 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, and the first three-pointer of his career, while leading number 2 Purdue to a 79-59 victory over arch-rival Indiana. Life is finally going his way. His draft stock is up, he's maturing as a player even more, he's back in his element, and this time, it looks like he may just declare himself eligible for the NBA draft in 2024 as well. Folks, we'd like to gather your attention to this one because Zack Edey has made a remarkable comeback, and how. Now, Zack Edey was the second college basketball player of the year in a row to have opted to return to college instead of turning pro, after Kentucky's Oscar Tshiebwe the year before him. And part of the reason he'd withdrawn his name from the draft was because he was ranked rather disappointingly 47th in the ESPN draft rankings last season. And now, as per an article by Fan Nation in January 2024, as of right now, it seems that the 7'4" center is hovering around the late first round to mid-second round range, as there are still some valid concerns about his ability to consistently defend the pick and roll against top-tier scoring players and the inability to defend in space. If all goes well, he should serve as a solid big man off the bench that can give you a productive 10 to 20 minutes a night. The same article also highlights how Edey has been a double-double machine this season, and how that consistency has helped him climb up in the draft projections as well. And interestingly enough, Edey was compared to another college basketball sensation from a few seasons ago, who, despite not having the best NBA credentials at the moment, still ranks as one of the biggest names to have come out of the college basketball scene. So take a look yourself at how this piece details Edey in comparison. To simply put it, we haven't seen a player this dominant in college basketball since Zion Williamson in the 2018-19 season. The difference here is that Edey is a senior that has been dominating for multiple years. Well, what do you know? To be compared to Zion Williamson in his college days is an achievement in and of itself. But to be told you're perhaps more dominant just brings everything to a new level. Edey's efficiency has been acknowledged across publications as well, who have been quick to note how his dominance and skill set has improved this season. And even though Publication for the Win didn't put Edey in their top 30 for the mock draft this year, they acknowledged how ESPN had then moved Edey to an impressive number 14 in their January 2024 rankings as per the following reasons. The runaway favorite to repeat as National Player of the Year, Edey has found another gear with his conditioning, mobility, and productivity, looking noticeably more impactful on both sides of the floor. He has shown better versatility stepping outside the paint defensively, blocking shots prolifically while drawing fouls, and dunking even more than usual, finding some real swagger to his game this season. The same article was also quick to highlight how Zack Edey's ability to draw fouls has also improved his free throw shooting. Whereas per the publishing date, Edey had been reportedly drawing 9.8 fouls per 100 possessions, and that shows the mark of a player who, despite experience in dominating college basketball, still has room to grow to become an even better player who is better suited and more well-adjusted to the rigors of the NBA. An interesting point to note, however, is the general consensus that the 2024 NBA draft class isn't overly impressive. Compared to the past few draft classes, which have seen generational players like Victor Wembanyama or players like Paolo Banchero and Chet Holmgren in the same class as well. This might be the year where LeBron James' son Bronny James might also declare himself eligible for the NBA draft. But whether he's ready or not, you can watch our video on the same topic by clicking right here. And have your say in the comments if you think that despite his cardiac arrest and eventual return to basketball, is Bronny James finally ready for the NBA? Now, moving to how this draft class actually not being that impressive flows in the favor of Zack Edey. And that's because how someone of his profile, who can dominate with size and scoring along with sheer efficiency, he would actually benefit a team that is looking at production as compared to risking it for a player who has different creative strengths. Edey brings solid scoring numbers, a good touch near the rim, and with his already improving skill set, this might just be his year where a team that goes for his services might be getting a really good role player, or perhaps even a decent starter eventually. What's good about Zack Edey's 2024 iteration is that not only is he generating renewed interest from scouts and draft experts, it's that his numbers are under the microscope and are being studied by popular data scientists like Evan Mayakawa. Mayakawa has placed Zack Edey as #1 on his Bayesian Performance Rating, or BPR scale, signifying Edey's impact both on the offensive and defensive end for Purdue, which also reflects in the team's overall performance, as he has placed Purdue on #1 in its BPR scale, as well as putting Edey at #1 on his indispensability scale, as well as putting the lineup of Zack Edey, Lance Jones, Mason Gillis, Fletcher Lawyer, and Braden Smith on the second spot in the top 5-man lineups list, as well as putting Edey at #1 and his teammate Braden Smith at #8 in the MVP rankings. Now that's a lot of acclamation for a player who has already won everything that he possibly could in college basketball on an individual level. But it's the success of the team in March Madness that eludes Zack Edey, especially after they were eliminated by complete underdogs Fairleigh Dickinson in the 2023 edition of the tournament.
The lob, and that will do it. Do you believe it? For just the second time ever, a 16 beats a 1.
It's a curious case of luck and timing that Edey was unable to lead his team to NCAA glory. But given the fact that he chose to return to Purdue for one more season with an ambition to perhaps finish what he started, signifies the mentality of a strong player who is not afraid to take a challenge and aim to deliver on the hype around his name in big games. And for that, we can certainly appreciate this young man and hope that he makes a mark in the NBA to the desired effect. Despite this draft class being relatively underwhelming compared to others, most of the eyes are on the likes of Cody Williams, Zachary Reisecker, or the likes of Nikola Topic and Alex Sarr. But it won't be the first time that we see someone who is outside the top 10 in the draft make a solid impact, and that wild card could just be the motivation that Zack Edey needs. That despite not being highly ranked, he could come in to deliver instant impact. Purdue currently boasts of the best record in their conference, and given how things are, that perhaps won't change by the end of the season as well. They're on an 8-game winning streak. They face Minnesota next, who are 7th in the Big Ten Conference, and they might be without their leading scorer Dawson Garcia, who is currently scoring 17.3 points per game, as he had to leave the floor because of a lower body injury in their last game against Iowa. Everything seems to be going Purdue's way in the season so far, and come March Madness, it will finally be a big test that Zack Edey and his roster would want to pass with flying colors, especially if Edey would want to continue improving his draft stock for the 2024 draft. All eyes remain on them, and we love a good comeback story. So here's hoping for one with Zack Edey and his heroics. And on that note, we come to the end of this video. Do make sure you like it, hit that subscribe button to join our growing community, and let us know in the comments if you think Zack Edey will finally land himself in a good position for the draft, and what would be your reason to not root for him if you don't, or whether he will finally lead Purdue in the extravaganza we all call March Madness. And we will see you in the next one.